like night and then day. NXT Great American Bash number 2. Oh, but you're 3 days late. Yeah, I'm 3 days late, but you're still going to listen. You're still going to listen because I do a good job. We're going to talk about NXT Great American Bash night number 2, and I can tell you this, not to put the AEW comparison in there, the first night of Fyter Fest was much better than the first night of the Great American Bash. In all honesty, I think the first night of the Great American Bash wasn't really that great. And then they flip-flopped. NXT Great American Bash Night 2 was honestly one of the better NXT shows of the year. I thought that this show flowed well. Everything that happened during the show pretty much made sense. We're going to review the whole show here. Again, it's not as many matches. It's about, I think, 4 or 5 matches, so it shouldn't be that long of a review. You're going to stay right here. This is going to be your NXT Great American Bash Night number 2 review. Hit the like button, subscribe, do everything that you got to do to put it out there. Go nowhere. Number 2, at least the main event of it, was spoiled. I don't know exactly who was responsible. My dumbass, I looked it up. I looked up exactly what happened, and to be honest with you, I'm not that surprised. Because it sets up a different route for where NXT is going to go in terms of the main event title picture. For me personally, I think that once we get to the main event, I'm going to explain exactly where I think they're going with Keith Lee winning the NXT Women's Championship. NXT Championship. Let's talk about how the show opened up, though. Rewind to last week, obviously, like every show. This was a female match, and it was a women's match, and it was a street fight. Let me tell you this: for a street fight of women's caliber, this was one of the best women's street fights I've seen in a long time. It was really good. The match between Candice LeRae and Mia Yim. They did the recap, yada yada yada. Before Candice LeRae tried to make her way to the ring, Mia Yim attacked her on stage and began the fight right away. The HBIC threw her into the steel steps and took several weapons out from under the ring. LeRae got in a few hits with a kendo stick before Yim grabbed her own and unleashed a flurry of shots to the body. The Poison Pixie set up a table in the corner. She and Yim fought in and out of the ring and into the seating area. They even tore up the catering area as they threw food and trays at each other. LeRae blasted Yim in the face with a fire extinguisher before she tried to suplex her through the table. The HBIC countered and drop-kicked off the platform to send her crashing through the table and onto the concrete floor. After the commercial break, both women dished out a lot of punishment as they traded back and forth. At one point, Mia Yim produced a set of brass knuckles. LeRae blocked with a chair and took the knucks from her. The Poison Pixie hit her in the face before using a swinging neck breaker from the top rope that landed right onto a pile of chairs to get the pin. Candice LeRae would get the win over Mia Yim. This match was fantastic. For a women's street fight, I feel like everything that needed to happen in a street fight happened in this match. It wasn't too long. It didn't drag on. As far as the winner goes, I'm okay with Candice LeRae winning. You know, the feud that she has with Mia Yim is pretty nice. They both can definitely go, and it was, honestly, I really enjoyed this match. Again, this is from Bleacher Report. It says that it got hot and never slowed down. The feud has been great, lived up to the hype. To be all honest, matches like this, it says here, can be difficult because 1 or 2 missed spots can take the crowd out of the performance. That never happened here. The only minor complaint was how superstars seemed to recover from big spots a little too quickly. I didn't really notice it from that standpoint. Very good match. What happens from here, my guess is as good as yours. Mia Yim is great. Candice LeRae is great. You know, I think Mia Yim's a little bit better. But, you know, it was what you expected. Now, the next match kind of just came from what I was told like that out of nowhere. And that was Tony Nese and Bronson Reed. Now, Bronson Reed is not bad, but he rubs me off as one of those guys that is going to go to the ring. He has a character. He's going to get his job done. He's going to be good. But what is the ceiling for someone like Bronson Reed? To be honest with you, I don't know if it's high. It's not because he doesn't have potential. It's just I feel like he's one of those guys that's just going to go and just kind of go through the motions. And that's not from his standpoint. I think Bronson Reed is good. Tony Nese is as well. I've never been a big Tony Nese guy. But this match was made, I don't know when it was made official. It was a late addition to the show. You know, Tony Nese, for some reason, I never understood why he kind of was in the cruiserweight division. He was very big. But for what it says, these are 2 different types of guys. The big man Nese kept off his game early on by taking him down with a textbook wrist lock into an armbar. Nese tried to make a comeback, but a senton forced him to take a break at ringside. Reed didn't let him rest, but Nese was able to use the apron to trap him and take control. It didn't take the thick boy long to regain the upper hand. The premier athlete resorted to using dirty tactics a few times throughout the match, but it didn't help. Reed hit a splash from the top rope to score the pin. You know, this wasn't going to be a match that was going to blow the roof off the place. It was okay. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was amazing. Reed, for his size, he has a lot of momentum for the last couple months. It's too bad Tony Nese can't get into the same groove because Tony Nese has a look. It was a decent match between two guys who've had impressive recent performances, and that's what Bleacher Report says, and that's what I say. Again, what is the limit for somebody like Bronson Reed? I don't know. Tony Nese, the same thing. It was decent. It was what it was. You know, it flowed. And again, that's what, to me, is so important about a show, is how it flows. Every match, you don't want every match to be 20 minutes long. You don't want every match to be boring. You have to have your different styles of wrestling throughout the show. This was a decent match, and that was that. Now, the next match was my favorite match of the night. I thought this match was great. To be honest with you, Bleacher Report gave this match a B+. I think it was a little bit better than that. I think, to be honest, they could have gone even a little bit longer in this. It was Isaiah Swerve Scott and Johnny Gargano in a singles match. This was great. I don't know what it is. Johnny Gargano is so great at what he does. He is really a treasure to NXT and wrestling as a whole. And Isaiah Scott as well, again, is a guy that sometimes is just really underutilized. And he has so much potential. Him and Gargano, I could watch them fight 100 times over. This match came about after Scott stepped in to help Yim while LeRae and Gargano attacked her on a recent episode of NXT. They started with a nice technical exchange that saw Gargano get a quick 2 count. Swerve tried his best, but Johnny Wrestling had the advantage when it came to the mat-based grappling. Scott used his speed to bring the pace up to comfort level and began taking Gargano down with high-flying moves that showed off his impressive agility. When they returned from a break, we saw Johnny Wrestling get back into control. They spent the next several minutes exchanging takedowns as they built toward the finish. After delivering a poison rana at ringside, Gargano got the win with a slingshot DDT. Gargano's slingshot DDT is so great. When I watched it, I was like, wow, that was really good. I'm like, damn, that was good. Gargano is just something special, man. Gargano would get the win. They are both insanely athletic superstars in NXT. Please go back and watch this match. As far as the intensity level goes, Bleacher Report has a very valid point here. They say that they kind of expected the intensity to get a little bit higher. And to be honest with you, I think that this match was great, but it could have been even better. Had they, Swerve wasn't his best outing, but impressive performance. And I look forward to seeing what happens from here. Johnny Gargano can really go with anybody, and it's just, his level of talent is just really ridiculous. And the next match, you know what? For a 6-man tag, I've never really been a big fan of 6-man tags because it just feels like they're all so similar. I didn't really care about this match going in, but I can tell you something. Breezango is really a treasure that's underrated. Drake Maverick, I'm happy that he ended up getting that contract and a second chance. And Ligo del Fantasma is good too. About his cronies, I don't really care for, but Santos Escobar is very good. This was Ligo del Fantasma versus Drake Maverick and Breezango. Santos Escobar led them both to the ring. And Breezango had Lucha Libre style masks, of course. Fandango and Wild started with their teams with a standard collar and elbow tie-up. The former ballroom dancer had the size and power advantage, and he used it to take control right away. Prince Pretty was the first man to tag in, but he was quickly cornered by Mendoza. Phantasma kept them isolated, and each member took turns on offense. After all 6 men brawled out, Escobar had a finisher on Maverick to get the win. Bleacher Report states this match was booked so Maverick and Escobar didn't make any contact. That meant Fandango, Breeze, Wild, and Mendoza had a lot of time in the ring. The passion for Maverick has been what kept this feud going since day one. It was a fun bout. It was what it was. There was not really any stakes, and it was just a nice addition to the card. As far as Drake Maverick and Santos Escobar goes, I love Drake Maverick. I think his story's great, but I can't sit here and tell you that him beating Santos Escobar for a cruiserweight title would be believable. I'm sorry. Santos Escobar is the much better performer, and I think, the feud would be interesting, but again, Drake Maverick just has this thing to him where he's very likable, but he's not always believable, and I'm not a big fan of him not being believable, but we'll see what happens here. This is confusing here. I understood, this match was Mercedes Martinez versus Santana Garrett. I understood why Santana Garrett was being put in this spot, because of what she wasn't beating. Now, Mercedes Martinez has been in and around wrestling throughout years, and now she's apparently being repackaged and built to NXT as what she is. Where does she fit into the women's division? We're going to have to wait and see. This was another late addition. As soon as the bell rang, Martinez took control with the boot to the body. She cornered Garrett, but the second-generation superstar used her quickness to escape, get a few moves in, including a nice handspring elbow in the corner. Mercedes finished her opponent off with a fisherman's buster in less than 5 minutes. Exactly how the match was and needed to go. Mercedes Martinez it was kind of a squash match that went a little bit longer than an actual squash match. Mercedes Martinez winning was definitely what was going to happen. Where she goes from here, well, another thing too, Garrett has been struggling to build up momentum, and the bout did not help her cause. She has plenty of time, but she needs that first big win to get herself going. Well, that first big win is not going to come against Mercedes Martinez. It established Martinez as a dangerous competitor. Great. The NXT Women's Division has been phenomenal for how many years now? The main event, I really breezed through this review. Adam Cole versus Keith Lee in a winner-takes-all. Adam Cole winning would retain his NXT title and win the North American title, and vice versa for Keith Lee, retain his North American title and win the NXT Championship. This was commercial-free, presented by Mountain Dew. I don't know who drinks Mountain Dew. I don't. You know what? This match was actually spoiled before it happened, and they still chose to keep the same winner. And I'm going to tell you where NXT goes exactly from here, from what this does. Main event was Lee and Cole keeping things technical with a series of basic holds and counters. Once the fight spilled out of the ring, Cole sent Lee through part of the plexiglass divider on the barricade to put himself in the driver's seat. It would not be Keith Lee if he did not throw someone flying through something. The leader of the Undisputed Era did a good job keeping the big man grounded to neutralize his power and size advantage, but Lee didn't let him keep the upper hand for long. The Limitless One eventually began to regain his strength as he started to taking Cole apart. Whenever Cole tried to get back into the fight, Lee would take him down with a power move. Even a series of super kicks and a last shot didn't stop him. Adam Cole hit the last shot, I believe, twice in this match against Keith Lee. After surviving the Panama Sunrise, which is another amazing move, which I'm honestly surprised that Adam Cole was able to hit on Keith Lee. That was something special. Lee hit his finisher to get the pin and become the first double champion in NXT history. Congratulations to Keith Lee, well deserved. A couple of things we have to talk about when it comes to this match. The first thing is the missing of the crowd. Winning the NXT title, you know, it was good, the match. I liked it. It was a very good match. And they had better chemistry than I thought they were going to. Keith Lee is one of those guys where I feel like he has chemistry with a lot of people, but when he finds that person that he really has that chemistry with, it's really fun to watch. This match would have benefited from a crowd. Anytime you see someone celebrating, you know, we saw with Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania 36. Anytime you see somebody celebrating some type of big moment, you want to see it in front of a crowd, especially NXT. This could have been great with a crowd. I think this whole show, to be honest, would have been really good with a crowd. Great American Bash was not a takeover, but it was kind of a bridge. Well, it was competing against Fyter Fest. Did it beat Fyter Fest Night 2? Yes, it did. Yes, it did. It was much better than Night 2. So, Keith Lee wins the NXT Championship. As the show closes, we see Karrion Kross in a booth with Scarlett, staring him down multiple times. There's a couple of ways they can go here. The obvious route would be Karrion Kross winning the NXT Championship, but the problem is when is that going to happen? You know, are you really, going to have Keith Lee be a transitional NXT champion? What could happen here is, the best way for me to think would be their next takeover, if it does go on, from what I know, is the night before SummerSlam. You would have Keith Lee versus Karrion Kross. Keith Lee's been made to look so dominant, and it would make Kross even look stronger. Could you imagine if Karrion Kross and Keith Lee put on a classic, and it resulted in Keith Lee getting put to sleep by Karrion Kross? Do you know how big that would make Karrion Kross look? That's the goal. That's the goal. That's the only problem with this, is that Keith Lee winning, if the title's given to Kross, makes Kross look stronger, but it makes Keith Lee a transitional champion. Adam Cole was being teased by Karrion Kross. Are they just going to say, let's take him away from the picture and let's have Kross and Cole feud? Is that their way of keeping Adam Cole in NXT? Are they going to have Karrion Kross and Adam Cole have a feud that has nothing to do with the NXT Championship? Is Adam Cole going to rematch Keith Lee? Is it going to be a triple threat? Could we see Cole versus Lee versus Cross? And we see Cross pin Cole. You know, there's so many variables that I think go into what happens next with the NXT Championship picture. But I think it does have to result in Karrion Kross winning the title. But the problem is that you just put it on Keith Lee. So with you putting it on Keith Lee, him losing it at the next pay-per-view makes him a transitional champion. And you can't have Karrion Kross lose. Karrion Kross can't lose a single match until he wins that NXT Championship. That's my thing. Great to see Keith Lee win. You know, we all have the fear of Adam Cole being called up to the main roster and ruined. You know, Matt Riddle, knock on wood, has been the last couple of weeks been treated well. I heard his promo on SmackDown 2 weeks ago was terrible. I actually didn't watch that episode of SmackDown. SmackDown last night was one of the worst SmackDowns I've seen in probably the whole year. Absolutely terrible. It's not a matter of Keith Lee winning. It's a matter of where do they go and how does Karrion Kross fit into this going forward. Lee winning was the right call. That's what Bleacher Report says. Doesn't make it right. Okay. North American Championship. I'm going to assume Keith Lee would probably drop that at some time soon. Don't know to who. Ladies and gentlemen, this was your NXT Great American Bash Night number 2 review as always. Thank you so much for watching. Continue to stay safe.